YouTube video, I believe. Regular Inmendham video, I should say. Yeah. So anyway, I have been doing some work on the draft science thing. Did some work on magnetism this morning. Pretty good work, I think. So yeah, I think I got it better nailed. Yeah. And so anyway, so I thought I would make this video on this channel just because this channel doesn't get too many views, the draft science channel. So yeah, I just thought I'd put a bounty out, or a prize of $1,000 for peer review. Something, obviously I don't want it to be a peer review. I want it to be like better than me review. So like some PhD type with some sort of credibility, like so professor type, or any science publication with, you know, reasonable density on the internet, a blog that gets, you know, 1 million views or whatever, or a YouTube channel that gets, you know, has a substantial number of subscribers, 200,000, something like that. Yeah, somebody with something to lose if they just make a mess of it, don't do a professional job of ripping me a new asshole or whatever, or praising me appropriately, whatever it may be. But anyway, I just figure I have to solicit. I have to probably pay for my peer review, because I've gone to publications and there's, you know, it really is difficult to get unsolicited, you know, and ununiversally related and all this, you know, there's all these standards. So why bother? You just pay for it, right? And so if $1,000 isn't enough, I guess eventually I'll have to increase it. We'll just see how it goes. Yeah. And then, you know, if I have to, I will solicit money from viewers to try to bribe some kind of, it'd be really great if we get a big name guy eventually. That would be really cool. But, you know, just somebody with some sort of credibility. Yeah. To, you know, spend 10 hours, whatever it would take, to get an overview of what I'm arguing for and point out how it can't be right. Or point out something that is a substantial impediment to it being the truth. Yeah. So anyway, I thought I'd just go through a brief rundown of the basic theory thus far. Okay, so it's just all photons. So the whole universe is made out of photons. And we call some of them gravity. And the reason why we call them, we make a distinction between photons, is not because photons are different, but because they come at different frequencies, which means, you know, they come at different speeds. Not speeds, frequency, period, between them. So ones that are very far away, one photon comes, another one, that would be radio waves, and light would be ones that are a little closer together, and X-rays would be even closer together, and gamma rays would be even closer together in terms of, you know, how far apart they are in a stream of photons. And it's always a stream of photons. So the trick is that light is really 2 photons. And you could argue that it's theoretically possible, you know, that the entire universe is just made of this gravity stuff that isn't doing anything, moving, and that light vibrates through the gravity. But, you know, come on, let's not go there. That's for some other time. So the idea is, wait, it's all photons, and that atoms and the pieces that make up atoms, electrons and neutrons and all this kind of stuff, are basically just condensates created by gravity. You know, photons that have been caught in a pattern, probably circles of some kind. And so they're still moving the speed of light, they're just spinning around in circles, so they're not going anywhere. And so they're trapped. And so you can sort of think of everything that isn't a photon, everything that isn't a photon, as just being a battery of a kind. It's storing photons. So an electron is storing photons, and the nucleus in the atom is storing photons. And that's why when you blow them up nuclearly, it releases a tremendous amount of energy, because there's a bunch of photons trapped in there, and you release them. And depending on how you release them, they have the same effect as gravity. It's essentially like releasing gravity. because gravitons are essentially photons without any frequency. So they're just all by themselves. No detectable frequency. They don't have any detectable partner, and that would be a graviton. So anyway, that's the basic dynamic. So it's just all raindrops moving the speed of light. The raindrops start to get boxed into association with each other. The patterns they get caught in can gain a certain amount of complexity. The elemental table, periodic table of elements, and then those packets of complexity can also have arrangement to each other. So I have analogized to a school of fish. So you can think of the subatomic particles, the electrons, the quarks, the neutrons, the protons, the whatever, nuions, phuions, as just being schools of fish that have relationship to each other. They're being gravitationally and magnetically pushed together by the gravitons. The gravitons are also the source of magnetism. So the gravity first creates the condensation. It is filtered, polarized. Gravity is polarized, and the structures in the atom are affected, have a capacity to detect polarization, and are affected based on polarization, and therefore create a balancing force of magnetism. It's not really a force, it's just a counter pressure. So you could sort of think of it like the sun emits energy, and if it emitted enough energy, it would make it impossible for something to fall into it. So even though it would have gravity, it would be creating another force that was saying, you can't fall here. It would another pushing force. So I guess that's another key conclusion, is that it's all push. There's no pulling forces, there's only pushing forces. And the push is always gravitons, essentially, photons. But photons can also push, but photons we recognize as being something different because they fit into this electromagnetic spectrum of having a period between them, a pair of photons. So, let's see. Yeah, so I've got the magnetic polarized frequency, so I kind of did that one. So you just kind of have to understand that the whole electromagnetic spectrum is all the same photons, they're just coming at a different frequency. And the photons carry no, they don't have a magnetic element, they just have polarization, and they carry no wave function, none of that stuff. Photons are really simple, they go from point A to point B in a straight line. So does gravity. It doesn't get affected by anything else. It can't be changed until it hits something like an electron. It's only electrons that can substantially interfere with a graviton, or what could be the nucleus of the atom also. Gravitons are photons. They're not influenced by anything else. They don't have any attributes of their own. So the all the quantum effects is really electron effects. They're all the effects electrons impose on photons through interaction. And the interaction is essentially an exchange in direction. So if you think of this universe as being all particles, then it's all kinetic. There's no real exchange of energy. There's only an exchange of directional information. Two things go in, two things go out. The same amount of energy, it's always conserved in every subatomic interaction. Energy is always conserved. So what basically happens is gravity might go in this way, a graviton. It'll leave this way, and it will impart on the thing it interacted with. It will change it from a piece of it from going this way to going this way. So it will effectively impose directional information on the thing it interacts with. So like a school of fish, this would explain time dilation in the sense that there's a pattern of the fish, and if the fish start to be migrated by a force that's changing that's subtly changing individual fish's direction and bending them a little bit more towards a direction, going this way, for example, then what's going to happen is whatever pattern they're making, the atomic metabolism, is going to slow down because they have to consume time to move in that direction. So they're using time to go extra distance, and the price of that is a slowing down of their metabolism. So with velocity comes a slowing down of atomic metabolism. So all of Einstein's relativity theories are wrong in that there's no effects of the space that people are in. There's only an effect of their individual atomic metabolism. So the clocks do slow down, the machinery slows down, and that's all that's being time dilated. You just age slower because your metabolism, your mechanism, slows down. It doesn't slow down in terms of the speed of light is still maintained inside of those atoms. It's just that it takes them longer because they have to take more steps to go in a direction. So with velocity comes an obligation to travel more distance, and the fish, say if it was a school of fish, they can't keep doing this if they have to move in this direction also. They're going to have to slow down. So if you thought of it just as a figure eight, the figure eight would slow down as they went faster in a direction. But they're still moving the speed of light. It's just that they're taking more time because they're moving more distance. Distance is time. Yeah. And so that explains time dilation, and so everything's pretty much there. So yes, gravity and magnetism start in atomic structure. The nucleus, the relationship between the nucleus of the atom and the electron is probably where magnetism starts. Gravity is what's forcing everything together, so it's forcing atoms, it's holding atoms together also. When it's filtered, it's manifested as magnetism. The same gravity is manifested as magnetism when it's filtered for its polarization. And yeah, and then there's gravity, obviously, on us. And what it really is doing, it's not physically, energetically pushing us. What it's doing as it moves through us is exchanging that little bit of directional information with individual photons inside our structure. So gravity is like a swarm of little fish, like sardines, that go through a school of tuna fish, let's say, and just subtly change the direction of the tuna fish and just go their own way. So they don't add any energy to the system. They leave the system, they go in, they leave with the same energy they came in with. And all that's changed is the direction. A little bit of directional information has been imparted onto you. So when gravity photons come down through you, because they're being shadowed, you're being shadowed from the ones coming up from the bottom. The Earth is shadowing you from the gravitons that would be pushing you that way. And so you're getting more coming down this way. And the more coming down this way, there's more sardines coming down this way on your tuna fish, and they're moving your tuna fish in the direction of down, and so you're tending to go down because more of your tuna fish are pointing down. And that's why you maintain your velocity, is because once that directional information has been imparted into the system maintains it until something bends it. So essentially the orbits of your electrons or some other feature of the atom is changed, is made less round, and creates a potential, an impetus to move in a direction because of the imbalance. And until the round balance is restored, you will maintain that tendency to move in that direction. So to be more precise, you would kind of argue that tuna fish, if you were tuna fish, are spinning in spirals, and as the sardines come through you, they kind of bend the spiral. They misshape it, causing tuna fish to not just spin in one place, but to spin in a loop. Spin in a loop. A loop that eats space. And that's velocity. So gravity creates acceleration, which is essentially the reorientation of the disposition, the gyroscopic disposition of your atoms, kind of like their center of gravity. It knocks the center of gravity slightly off, creating a wobble in your atomic structure that tends to wobble you in the downward direction. Alright, I think that's it. So it's all unifies everything, takes care of time dilation, gets rid of all this quantum fakery. It's all electrons. Electrons have the wave. Electrons are constantly vibrating. The whole atom is constantly vibrating, but electrons they're vibrating, say, twice as much. And they're the thing that the photons are interacting with in, say, for example, the two-slit experiment or other experiments that create a filtered pattern. The electrons are causing the effect. The photons have no effect. They carry no information. They're just merely polarized, and that's it. It's the only character they carry. They have no other character. They're all identical. Yeah. And so it's a just whole different ball game than the ball game physics is talking. No string theory, no multiverse, no time dilation, no warped space. Clearly no need for a bent fabric anymore, because the photonic pressure is essentially the fabric, and it obviously flows based on a shadowing effect. So the shadow creates what you would think of as the bend in the space is just an idea of shadowing force. So it's the same exact proportional convergence, but it's just being caused by the effect of shadowing gravity. And yeah, I think that's it. So if you're a credentialed physicist and you think that's nonsense, and you care to watch a few videos just to make sure you think my argument's crap, and you want to make $1,000 for writing up something or videoing something saying why you think it's crap, first contact me, of course, just because I want to make sure I don't want to be an asshole about it, but yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pay you $1,000 if you're just, some guy named Joe who sits in his lounge chair and wants to critique somebody. I mean, if I could make $1,000 doing that, that'd be great. So, I mean, you got to earn it by at least having something to lose in terms of a reputation, or you have to have a publication that has enough exposure to be meaningful in terms of making a statement. Yeah. So that's probably enough. Yeah, I mean, it's, so that's what I wrote down. I mean, there's probably some other features. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that needs to be thrown in the package of the unification thing. I think that covers it. Lensing, I could say that celestial lensing is being created by the density of electrons around gravitational bodies, especially suns and other celestial bodies that are producing some sort of energy, which means most of the energy they produce, not most, or a lot of the substance they produce, let's put it that way, the particles, doesn't reach escape velocity, so it ends up falling back into the sun. And so there's a very large area around the sun that is is very dense with atomic particles, and that's what would be refracting the light. So the lensing is not being caused by the gravity, it's being caused by the density of the elemental particles in the atmosphere around large gravitational bodies. Yeah, so that's another one I need explaining. So anyway, I think that covers it. So, till next time, and such. Link to the Draft Science YouTube channel and I have a web page. Not much on it, but it's it's a web page, pretty sort of. So I'll leave a link to the web page and the YouTube channel and such. And that'll be all. Yeah. So PM the channel. Message me. Yeah, message me where. I don't know. One of these systems ought to work, right? Or leave a comment with your email. Or, yeah, just, I guess you didn't leave a message, right? You can still do message things. Just leave a message and I'll try to find my messages. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Okay. Until next time. Yeah, just email me at do not God. Yeah. So ds@donotgod.com. That'll work too. Yeah. Okay. Till next time. Probably work as long as I get my meal before I fill the box up. But anyway.